Hi, my name is David Peterson. I'm the creator of the Dothraki language for HBO's Game of Thrones and the alien language and culture consultant for Sci-Fi's Defiance, and you're listening to GenreTainment.
Hello, everyone. This is GenreTainment at SciFiPulseRadio.com. We're your hosts, Marks
and Julie, and today on GenreTainment, we speak to producers and actresses Stephanie Thorpe and Paula Rhodes. Now, they recently acquired the rights to the 35-year-old comic book series ElfQuest from Warner Brothers. And they grabbed a lot of attention on the web when they made ElfQuest a fan imagining, and now even more attention as they move forward to make official ElfQueststories. We learn more about their plans for this franchise that has a global following in 12 countries.
Plus, we talked to them about their extensive work in a wide range of award-winning web series and films. Now, Thorpe has spearheaded over 150 episodes of web TV, and Rhodes has a collective 104 million views in new media projects.
What you heard at the beginning of the show was a snippet from the theme song for our web series, Reality on Demand, a song composed and performed by our friend T. Sean Hardy. Now you can find our web series at realityondemandseries.com.
Now let's get started with our featured interview with producers Stephanie Thorpe and Paula Rhodes. This is Marks with GenreTainment. I'm speaking today with Stephanie Thorpe and Paula Rhodes. The main reason we're talking with you today is about your recent announcement on acquiring the rights to ElfQuest, and I think that's a comic book property that's been around since 1978.
It's coming up on its 35th birthday, February of 2013.
Wow. And now that was recently held by Warner Brothers. And
yes, the rights were held up until the first quarter of this year by Warner Brothers.
Okay. Well, can you guys tell us a little bit about how you guys got involved in ElfQuest and managed to get these rights?
Do you want us to start at the very beginning, when we were both kids of 6 and 8 years old, or do you want us to start more recently?
Well, let's start from the beginning. Let's see where your interest started with ElfQuest. And another thing we should do, too, if you don't mind, to some of our listeners who maybe aren't that familiar with ElfQuest, can you give a little bit of the background story?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so the background story of ElfQuest, actually, I'll let Steph.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take over. It's a story that focuses on initially on a small group of elves on a world not unlike our own called Two Moons, and they live in forests. These are smaller than human-sized elves, not the tall elves of Lord of the Rings, and not the Keebler elves of the cookies. Definitely not, nor the elves of Santa Claus either in his workshop. These are fierce, sexy elves that live off the trees, and they are dealing with humans that think they are demons. And in the early part of the story, they are immediately driven out of their home as the humans burn it down and are forced to go on an elf quest to find a new home. That's their first urgency, where they encounter trolls and have to transverse a desert. And along the way, they find something they didn't know existed, which is other pockets of elves. They thought they were the only ones. And they go on a larger quest to find their origins and why they are here. And it's a story it's a very epic story, a hero's quest that involves love, sex, death, war, trolls, and other fantastical creatures. But they're very human at their core.
Now, how did the two of you become fans?
All right. Well, I'll just continue.
For lack of a better word.
Yes. We've been fans our whole lives. Paula, do you want to go first?
Sure. My introduction to ElfQuest came when I was very young, and my sister was on her way into this world, and I was reading a lot of books about how to be a good big sister, and I was getting more and more nervous. They were not calming me down. I was pretty sure because of these books that once you get a little brother or sister, your parents pretty much abandon you. So because of this fear, my dad decided to help me out a little bit and took me to a comic book store and said, hey, here's the thing. You pick out any book you want here, and then every time it comes out, we'll go get the new one, and it can be a special Paula Daddy date. Like, we'll still have one-on-one time. Don't even worry about it. So I went to the store, looked around, and was immediately drawn to Wendy's artwork. ElfQuest just, jumped off the shelf, I suppose, and into my little hands. And so we took it home and read it and continued to get them as long as we could find them. And I taught my sister to read on them, and it was sort of just a really wonderful part of of developing my imagination and my storytelling, and kind of ultimately led me to want to become part of the entertainment industry, I think. I mean, I tried to go to my first day at kindergarten dressed as one of the elf characters in my version of that costume, which was my galoshes and a skirt and a bikini top. And my mom stopped me. She said I could put that on as soon as I got home. But it's always been a part of my life as far back as I can remember, literally. So when Stephanie posted it on Twitter, which we'll get to that story in a second, I jumped at the chance of connecting with another fan, as it hasn't had a flagpole to rally around before now. But here's Stephanie's story.
Well, like Paula, my story starts when I was a young girl as well, and similarly to Paula, I have my dad to thank for it. I think my dad always secretly wanted a boy, so he decided he was going to raise his only daughter in all the things that he would like, so we would have a common language. So I came home with The Hobbit because I had an affinity for dragons, and he said, "No, that's a baby's book. Here you go. We'll talk after The Lord of the Rings." Baby's book. And then he was throwing Dune at me and Isaac Asimov and all that kind of stuff, and introduced me to Star Wars and Star Trek. And a little girl, I loved Disneyland, and we used to get to come down from Vancouver, Canada, because he had business once a year, and I would get to go to Disneyland. And so the time for our trip was coming up. We were going to California, and I was so excited to go to Disneyland, but instead we went to San Diego. And I got off the plane in my Mickey Mouse ears, and there was no Disneyland in San Diego. And my dad said, "That's okay, Steph. I have something better for you," and it was Comic-Con. And that was really amazing to do that as a child and to see the way that has changed over the years. We had a panel for ElfQuest a couple of years ago there, and just amazing to see that whole process and that place really explode. I was allowed to get one thing, actually not at the convention, but at a comic book store afterwards. Like Paula, the ElfQuest volumes, the graphic novels jumped off the shelf at me, and I was allowed to get one thing. And so after spending an hour at the shelf trying to furiously read them all, I bought the first volume. And this is where I owe my mother. We went to dinner, and she excused herself to go to the bathroom, and she was gone a really long time, and she came back with volumes 2 and 3. And so I had been a fan. I was about, I think, 8 years old at that time, and loved them, had very few people to share them with. My cousin, who now lives in Japan, also a girl, but, it was a very sort of solitary enjoyment. And then, we came back to them as teenagers and in college. And then a couple of years ago, I was back in Vancouver going through all my old comics and books and stuff, and I tweeted a picture of ElfQuest, one of my favorite panels. And I just said, "ElfQuest, anyone?" And my Twitter feed blew up with people being, "Oh, I love that. That's one of my, I remember that as a kid," or "I always loved that book," or "Wait, it's so sexy. Can't believe you knew of it too." And one of the best voices there was Paula Rhodes. We already knew each other as being actresses and producers in the new media space. I was thrilled to find someone whose work I really respected and who I liked as a person, who was also a fellow fan.
A rabid fan.
A rabid fan, yes.
And from that Twitter conversation, we started jokingly casting from our mental Rolodex of girls from the web and traditional media that we knew that looked a ton like the characters, and who we also admired. And they started, either they knew the property or they'd look it up and immediately seemed to be on board, like, "Great, let's make this." So after all of these people kind of coming in as if we were actually making something, it finally hit us that we do actually make things. I suppose we could think about this.
At this point, Paula and I were both web series producers, and that just kind of hit us that, we had the skills and the ability to perhaps do something with this, which was a really scary prospect.
Especially considering it was something we loved so much. You desperately don't want to mess that up, of all things. But we did what people do in LA. We met for coffee, and we knew at the time that Warner Brothers had the rights, and so we thought, okay, what would we like to do with this? And at the time, we really wanted to see this come to screens. So we figured, okay, how can we help them out? Like, maybe get the fan base jazzed. So jazzed? Did I use that word?
You did.
Fine.
But it's good.
So we figured that we could make a pretty solid fan fiction trailer, short piece that could really stand as that flagpole that had been lacking for the fans to really gather around and raise their voices, and hopefully to encourage the studio to move forward with the property, to bring it to screens.
And really to show them that it translated from page to screen. And of course in a live action version as well. So we got in touch with the creators.
We did, who I'd kept in touch with vaguely from Comic-Cons and otherwise. They were terribly, wonderfully supportive and checked out some of the past work that we'd done to see where our bar was and seemed really to just get behind us right away, which was overwhelmingly flattering coming from people we'd admired so long. And so we started an Indiegogo project to raise funds to do this, and we had right away a New York Times article came out, and that helped, and we reached our goal in a week of funding and got all sorts of other press. I think we've had over 100 articles now come out, which is pretty awesome.
In 5 different languages.
Hey, there we go. I'll take your word for it. I speak Pig Latin. And did I use Pig Latin as a reference?
Jazz
and
Pig Latin.
This is like a 90-year-old woman here.
This is the end of a long day for us. They're getting us at our giggly best. But yes, so we launched the Indiegogo campaign and made our goal in about a week. And so off we went into the woods with a baker's dozen full of actresses.
And no cell phone service.
And no cell phone service, and prosthetic ears that we spent the bulk of our money on to make them as Penny-esque as possible.
You know, generators and equipment and all sorts of fun stuff.
All that fun stuff.
For small crew of professionals who we'd worked with before, and we're really thankful that they wanted to work with us again.
Exactly. So for about $10,000 and all the favors we could muster in the world, and a lot of this was done on love and passion, we filmed 4.5-minute fan fiction trailer, which you can see at ElfQuestFanTrailer.com, and we did that in February, and then premiered a sneak peek of it, or previewed a sneak peek at WonderCon in April that year, and then about a week later, we had a premiere that we were honored to have SAG New Media throw for us at the SAG building.
We were the first red carpet at the SAG building, so that was pretty cool. Had a big party afterwards, and then a few months later, we're invited to have a panel at Comic-Con in San Diego.
Which was an incredible dream.
Really
come
cool.
True.
But it was scheduled for Friday at 8 o'clock, and we were kind of nervous, figuring, oh, geez, they're all probably drinking by then, what's happening? Yeah. But we showed up, and people had already been waiting for over 2 hours. The line wrapped around, like, down one hall and around a corner and another corner.
And a bunch of them in costumes.
Yeah, it was amazing. So we had a whole totally packed house, and have literally continued to get messages from fellow fans all over the world, and great feedback ever since. It's been over a year up now.
Absolutely.
Although a lot of that is us answering the questions of why there's only girls in the fan trailer, but we've hopefully answered that a number of times as far as we had to sort of legally protect ourselves, as the studio currently held the rights with our own twist on it.
So that was important for us to put our own aesthetic vision and our own spin on it as well. And we also knew we were operating within a limited budget, so we wanted to go for the biggest bang for our buck and the highest production value, because that's something that Paula and I don't like to sacrifice ever. And we knew we could do a good job using the lovely ladies that we knew and making them look very elfin.
And look like them already. Hey.
And it was also great for us, too, because ElfQuest really taught us, it gave us examples of strong female characters as well. So that was nice to be able to portray the women of ElfQuest. As we go forward with the rights to the property, we are reassuring to all the fans
to note that is not, the fan trailer is not a precursor or a trailer for whatever project we move forward for. It is its own entity, and it's served a lovely purpose. But moving forward, we're hunting bigger game.
Mm-hmm. Sort of like with Mortal Kombat, they came out with that fan trailer, and then that would eventually lead to Warner Brothers allowing them to make a series.
Well, yeah, they actually, that was initially made as a way to try to get, that the director wanted to direct the Mortal Kombat film, so it was sort of his pitch. But they liked it so much as a web property that they supported it that way and funded it as a web series. But yeah, they're coming out with season 2 now?
I think so.
It's got announced today.
Yeah. So how did you go from ElfQuest to fan reimagining to now actually getting the rights to it?
Well, so Warner Brothers held the rights as we were doing the trailer, and they let their option lapse.
Early last year, early this year.
Early this year, at the beginning.
And we had stayed in touch with the creators, so we were from, of course, as we would, I suppose, and they had kind of clued us in that the rights would be reverting.
Yeah. And, and we had stayed in touch with them. The fan trailer had been doing the festival rounds, and as Paula said, we continued to get, support from fans and all that kind of stuff. It was always lovely as people found it over time. So we found the news out from Wendy and Richard, and then
on the drive home, we kind of had a bit of an epiphany. We were driving, and we're like, why has this never worked? Why for 30 years have people tried to make this a film, and it's never quite succeeded. They've had indie producers own it, they've had big studios own it, and it's never come to fruition.
It always ends up in development hell, or has so far.
So we brainstormed, we found the reasons that we could identify as to what had been the hurdles that it kept running into before, and we approached it from, as fans, what we would like to see happen to it, and to get around those hurdles, I guess. So we put together a business plan and a pitch, and we're like, are we really doing this?
Yeah, I know, and this is our scary moment.
Yeah,
We've had so many scary moments along the way.
Approached the creators and kind of gave them our pitch, kind of the traditional route, I suppose, and they were getting a number of other people, reaching out to them, of course. And
we showed them what our vision was and how we wanted to bring this property up, not just up to date, but into further incarnations and into the future.
And
at its coming up on its 35th year, we're finding this wonderful nostalgia for the property.
It's on the second generation of people discovering it, which is nice. But so they loved our pitch. They loved it. They'd never heard anything like it. It just hadn't even occurred to anybody else, I guess, before. And I guess maybe it wouldn't have been able to prior to now, and the lovely stars aligning technology and otherwise. But we made the pitch. They accepted it. We did the whole traditional, entertainment lawyer route, and then we're able to announce it, as you saw in the Variety article, which was pretty darn cool.
Very darn cool. And we were thrilled that, all our other supporters picked up the story as well. And
which we've been so thankful for. It was a very funny morning, I will say, and nobody else has gotten the scoop from me. But as the Variety article came out, and I didn't know it was out yet, we had no idea when or if it would for sure run.
We found out as it happened. We had no forewarning.
So I think Stephanie texted me.
Yes.
And I was in the doctor's office, which is a really awesome place to find out about something at your annual physical. And, with your embarrassing robe on and otherwise in there. And I'm like, hey, doctor, this is really weird, but I really need to get this text. I'm so sorry. And then I'm like, oh, my God. And she was, anywho, it made for a really funny diary entry. But the doctor was very excited for me, and I'm healthy. Yay. So
there you go.
All in all, a win of a day.
Now,
it's been a while ever since. We're looking at assembling our team and actively taking meetings.
Great. I know it's still pretty early, but is this going to be, and maybe you don't even know yet, but is this going to be a movie? Is it going to be another, like a web series? What kind of direction are you thinking about going into it?
We have a plan A that we're hotly pursuing. And in the interest of, just in case we end up having to go plan B, I suppose, we don't want to totally show our hands yet. And as we don't want plan B to feel less loved if we end up going with it. But
the beautiful thing about this property is that it can exist in a number of different mediums.
This is a franchise. This is something that's going to be around and, in various formats, be it video games and merchandise and, a tent pole or something and otherwise. So there's a lot of mediums, and we're kind of, we have our favorite, and we're excited to announce it soon, but we want to make sure we get our ducks in a row there.
Sure.
Before we officially announce.
And you hinted that there won't be an all-female cast, so...
It most definitely won't. No, we're telling the story. We're staying true to the core of the story. Like I said, that was done for a completely different reason when we didn't have the rights to protect ourselves and to make it the highest production value we could. Now we have the rights, so we get to actually tell the story
as we want to tell it.
And tell it with all the characters that, are important to it. So yes, we look forward to, casting a cutter down the road or having some say in that.
Exactly. When we were doing the fan trailer, I kept insisting on the shirtless men
she wanted casting session
really badly. Colin just kept saying, no, we don't have the budget for it, because then we'll cast them, we'll want to put them in, we can't. And I was like, let's just
I think I was worried about having to sew more. I hand sewed most of the costumes for that, and I was a little worried about having to sew a bunch of breechcloths. It was less in my forte. No, anyway. we look forward to
cloths are really easy to sew, though. I never understood that. But we look forward to the casting process of this, and the important thing to note is, in our hearts we're fans of this property, so we want to tell the story and do it justice. And we know we can't make each and every fan happy, but we're going to try.
Mm-hmm. Good. Any other little teases you can give us about it?
We're just really, first and foremost, we're just so excited. This has been a really magical experience for us to, do the fan trailer and have Wendy and Richard come on set and see. There was this one moment where Paula was playing Nightfall, one of the main female heroines of the piece, and we were reenacting a fairly iconic panel from the comic books, and Wendy and Richard just started tearing up as I was directing them, and that was really special for us to know that we moved people who really inspired us to come into the entertainment world. We, to a certain extent, became actresses, became producers because we saw these strong female characters, and it inspired us to be the heroines of our own story.
We wanted to be elves.
We did.
Let's be honest.
And if you haven't seen Paula, she is an elf incarnated. I am taller at just under 5'8", and so I got to play the evil, taller elf, which was also a dream come true for me. It's just been really wonderful. Do we have any last-minute teasers we can leave them with?
I would encourage people to stay tuned and to follow us on Twitter, and otherwise we do make some little slips here and there.
We get really excited, and so to follow us, you can follow me at the Steph Thorpe.
With an E?
With an E, yes.
And I'm at Paula_Rhodes, Rhodes spelled like the scholar or the Colossus of. And we have some exciting announcements coming soon, hopefully. Right now we're really meeting with potential team members. But yeah, I guess the biggest tease we can give is we're hunting bigger game than people seem to think. Mm-hmm. I guess we can say we have no interest in doing the indie film, we raise the money ourselves.
Yeah, a lot of people have suggested or just assumed that because we did an Indiegogo campaign before, this would be a project on Kickstarter.
That would be a slight, with the budget, even the biggest budget anybody's raised on those, we couldn't possibly do ElfQuest justice. So no, we're hunting bigger game, and we look to reach a much wider audience.
Very much. We're very much interested in doing a service to the fans that it exists, but the really exciting part is creating new fans out of this, and just showing off this property that has been long overlooked to a whole new cross-section of genre fans and mainstream fans.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so Paula, both of you have a lot of web series new media experience. And Paula, could you go a little bit into how you got involved in web series first?
I got involved in web series. Sure. Let's see. So it's a little bit like, I say this, but it totally is a good analogy. Like the earth cracked, and there's this whole other society down there with its own celebrities and its own rules. But I got involved in it in, 2008, I believe, 2008, when my friend Kathy Barron, who had been on a pretty successful web series, I think, called Valley Peaks, and I started brainstorming, and we're like, let's just make something. And so we got this, let's get a bunch of girls together and make something amazing. And so we had a meeting, and there were about 16 girls that showed up at the first meeting, and we brainstormed a ton of ideas for what kind of thing we could create, what kind of show we could make. And we're like, okay, let's meet back here next week, same bat time, same bat channel. And the next week, 3 of us showed up. So from there, we sort of had our idea of our favorite one, so we started going to Tube Filter meetups and going to other new Media Vault meetups and things, and networking, which at the time it was a pretty small, tight-knit community, which it still is to some extent, and that was really wonderful that they were so welcoming to me. So I think even at my first meetup, I might have met Brett Register and Craig Frank and Mark Hustovic and a ton of people that are kind of players in this realm, and Casey McKinnon maybe. And we all stayed in touch, and I think in particular Brett Register and I really hit it off as friends. And so when he created a pilot for the Escapist Film Festival, Goodnight's Quest, he called me probably like the night before. I think it was like a Thursday, and he wanted to know what I was doing on Friday. Oh, web, how fast it moves. And if I had any princess dresses, and also if I wanted to produce. And I did, and I had 3 or 4 princess dresses, ironically. So we got together, did the whole 24 episodes for Escapist after we won the festival, which was fun. And we did a BBC pilot presentation and all sorts of stuff. And I think from there it just kind of escalated, because you meet all these people and kind of incestually use each other for other projects. Like, hey, you're really good. Come do this on my show. And it's been a blessing. It's been, some of these people have become my closest friends out here, and definitely amazingly creative peers that I look up to and I'm proud to stand among.
Great. I almost want to ask why you have 3 princess dresses, but we'll let that slide.
Are they? I think I had one that was more video game princess, which is I think what we ended up going with, because she's a video game character. One that was more Disney princess, and I had one that was more of a medieval Why do I have all these costumes? What's wrong with me? Anyway, I have a lot of costumes.
It's called cosplay.
Sure, yes. I didn't even know what that was at the time. This introduced me to a whole new level of awesome nerdism. So I've embraced it wholeheartedly. I'm letting my flag fly higher now.
Oh, cool. Okay, and Stephanie, how did you get involved in web series?
Oh, my goodness. Well, about the same time as Paula Rhodes, although my story was is slightly different. I'm originally from Canada, and I was up there in Toronto. I grew up in Vancouver, but I was finishing off my master's degree at the University of Toronto and using it to fund my acting career and doing stage work and film and television up there, and turned to producing because, like Paula, we're both very tenacious, and although we are patient with our creative things, impatient in other things, and we both turned to producing because we got tired of waiting for the phone to ring and wanted to create vehicles for ourselves. And so I started producing short films at first and doing the festival circuit with them, and then a couple of features while I was up there. And then when I was finished with my degree, I came down to Los Angeles. Down here, I met people and was kind of frustrated with the festival circuit at that point. It was very expensive to go to all the different festivals, even submitting to them. And so my partners and I had a bunch of projects together, and we thought, the web space is really opening up. Let's chop one of our projects up, and this was with Mike Davies and Taryn O'Neill, and it was a project called After Judgment that existed in a different form, and we turned it into a web series, and we were very blessed. We got a lot of critical acclaim. Someone quoted us as being the lost of the web, and I think I nearly fainted when that happened. And we are nominated for a handful of Streamies in 2008. Yeah, 2008.
It might have been his first Streamies.
His first Streamies. And we lost to Dr. Horrible Sing-Along Blog and Battlestar Galactica and Jane Espenson and Mr. Whedon at everyone we were nominated for. And it was an honor to lose to all of those people and kind of, very odd to be considered in the same caliber. And from there, I continued to produce web content, was hired by a company called Babblegum to produce a series, which was absurdist sci-fi in the vein of Douglas Adams, about two people whose apartment hurtled through space at an alarming rate. And after that, I went on to do a number of projects, producing-wise, Asylum, and also in front of the camera, my favorite being Night of the Zombie King, which focused on a group of adults who come back to finish their high school game of Dungeons and Dragons that they left unfinished, and it's kind of like the big chill for nerds, and of course they sort out a lot of their problems along the way. So both Paula and I are still in front of the camera when we can, doing acting stuff and then producing behind the camera. Most recently I've been on screen and off producing a series called Shelf Life, with Tara Platt and Yuri Lowenthal, which is a lot of fun, and we just finishing filming with pickups our fourth season of that, so there's 40 episodes of that are going to be out, 30 already, and we had a very successful Indiegogo campaign for that, where we raised almost $35,000, and then, because I'm not busy enough, with my other partners, I just filmed 40 episodes of a new series called The Ladies and the Gents that Paula and I were both in. And that
Stephanie doesn't sleep.
We don't believe in sleep, neither one of us. We don't have time. Rest is for when we're dead, I guess. Anyway, but The Ladies and the Gents was a lot of fun, and it allowed me to do creatively what I really wanted to do, which was bring the community that has given me and Paula so much together even more and give them a space to be creative in. So what myself and Rob Padgett and Tanya Einen and Steve Lekowitz and Avi did together was have just one set that functioned as a ladies' bathroom and a men's bathroom, and we traced the shenanigans and bathroom antics over the course of one night in a nightclub. And what was really special about this is they are all tiny little vignettes, and so the ladies' portion was all written and directed by different ladies in the WIB community, and we have 20 episodes of that. And then we also have the gent side, which directed and produced and written by men, but that happens. Novel. That happens all the time. And we're pairing them together, and we'll be launching them early 2013, all 40 episodes and 15 ancillary content at least. So between Paula and I know I've produced over 100 different episodes of web glory, and you have tons. So
I think Barbie helped me out for my count. But yeah, I think it was over 104 million hits for stuff total that I've been involved in. Yes, which is cool.
It's nice when we can sort of point to those neat benchmarks of things, and we love what we do, and we just keep doing it. We love being on screen, and we love bringing things to life.
Great. Well, I'm glad you brought up ladies and gents. We had Cater Pictures on before on the show.
Don't you love all those people?
Oh, yeah.
We have a meeting tomorrow where we're going over more rough cuts tomorrow night. It's very exciting.
Oh, yeah, Hollywood Wasteland's going to come out soon, too. Hey, stay tuned. We're going to be on the web. A little more.
Well, great. And we have a lot of web series creators on, so a lot of times I ask them if they can give a tip, like a do and a don't, for people who might be thinking about going into web series. What kind of do or don'ts would you give?
I have my big do and my big don't. And my big do is, if you're going to tell a story, tell something you're passionate about. Tell something you really care about. The web can smell inauthenticity. And so really tell a story from your heart and from your gut. And that's my do, absolutely, as you create. And my don't is don't bite off more than you can chew. In the web, you have to wear tons of different hats. You're a producer, you're craft services, you're probably in front of the camera and behind the camera. But this is a really wonderful community where you can build a good team. But really think about not doing more than you can on the budget that you have.
Let's see. For me, I would say my do, number one do is just make it. This is such a wonderful time in history when you actually have all the technology for not terribly much money to actually bring your stories to life. So if you're kind of on the fence about, I don't know if I should shoot it. Shoot it. Just make it. It's a great experience regardless. But that said, also do make sure you have a really thick skin, because the one thing you will have to deal with on web is how to take criticism. Because your audience has immediate access to you, and you are able to get feedback from them as never before. So be sure that you have a thick skin, which I think with ElfQuest has been a wonderful experience for us in that we got a lot of outpouring of love, but we also got our share of criticism. And what's been great is that when you actually reach back to the, shall we call them, trolls, and come at them, with kindness and sort of explain yourself, perhaps what they were seeing and what they have a question about, and with a little pinch of humor, never helps or never hurts, then we've managed to turn quite a few trolls that initially came at it rather grumpy into new fans, and for them to realize, we are listening to them. We do value the fact that they took their time to watch our content, and so that's been a wonderful metamorphosis to watch online. So yeah, have a thick skin, go ahead and make it, and don't.
Make it good, or don't make it crummy.
Don't make it bad. Is it? Make it bad. Do it. Don't make it bad.
Yeah, I know those YouTube comments can get pretty mean sometimes.
Yeah. We will not admit to being reduced to tears by any of them, will we?
Never.
Never. We did not cry.
Mm-hmm.
At all.
And even the ones that were ever to happen, we still wrote back, with niceness. If you come at evil with evil, it's only going to multiply. So.
It's so fitting for ElfQuest for it to be trolls, right? I mean, that's perfect.
True, indeed. So we battled the trolls as elves are wont to do.
Yes.
Wow, I used want too.
You did. You're pulling out all the words.
I promise, I'm not over 50.
So our IMDb pages and check us out.
I need to get my picture back up there. Darn IMDb, switching over to Pro, getting everyone's pictures gone. Anywho.
You guys are so involved in web series community. I'm curious what you believe the future of web series will be, especially for independent creators.
I'd love to see it just continue to grow and grow.
To see it grow. I think it's becoming more and more valued as a medium in and of itself. And it's not just TV on the web, although it can be in some instances. It's more than that because you have the access to fans. So I look forward to seeing an audience-driven, audience interaction sort of formats emerge. I don't know. I think it's exciting to watch.
Very much so. And having been involved in it now since 2008, the both of us, and a little bit before as we were making things.
Getting more.
It's feeling the growth is arising exponentially, the legitimacy as well. People are starting to take it really seriously, or a lot more seriously than when we first started, when it really felt like the wild, wild west.
Right. You'd say, we did a web series, and people laugh.
They'd be like, we don't know what that is.
Oh, well, let's see it. Yeah, it's getting more legitimacy.
Exactly. And we find we have to explain ourselves less. In the beginning, it was like, so you film cat videos?
Yeah,
and now we
do, but...
We do film cat videos, yes, but we
embrace it. Shading Stephanie's cat that we need to
you're going to say that in an interview. She just did.
So excited.
We shaved my cat.
The jokes. But not an actual cat.
Yes.
Actual cat. Let it.
Interesting.
So, Paula, you've outed yourself as being over 50 and a cat lady. Good job. And you'll be able to see this video on YouTube.
Good thing I'm married or I'd never get any dates. Jeez.
All right, well, great. Well, it's been great talking to you two, and I wish you the best of luck with ElfQuest. Can you guys...
Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to interview us.
It was an absolute pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to interview us, and we're very thrilled to come and chat anytime you want.
One last time, if you guys go ahead and pitch your websites, so make sure our listeners can find you.
Mine is officialpaularhodes.com.
And mine is thestephaniethorpe.com, and on Facebook as well. And you can follow me on Twitter at @TheStephThorpe.
And at Paula_Rhodes.
Hi, I'm Steve.
I'm Tanya.
And I'm Rob. And we're from Cater Pictures, and you're listening to GenreTainment.
Special thanks to Stephanie Thorpe and Paula Rhodes for speaking with us. We look forward to seeing what they do next with ElfQuest, be it movie or web series or something else. We know it's in good hands and will be a must-see. Check back Thursday when we speak to Barry Dodd, the co-creator of the popular Maine-based web series Ragged Isle. We learn more about this mystery suspense web series and talk to Dodd about his views of the future of independent web series.
And next week, we have Joe Wilson, the creator of the popular independent TV series Vampire Mob, on our show live on December 18th. Yes, we're doing something live. Live. We should have that echoed like in a stadium.
Live.
The show has a very talented cast with actors from Twin Peaks, Boardwalk Empire, and Sopranos. So if you have a question for Wilson, be sure to call in. Now later next week, we'll be speaking to both the director and the producer of the sci-fi movie that brought us Nazis from the Moon, Iron Sky. So be sure to check out these fun episodes coming up.
So that's it for today's GenreTainment. Join us back right here on this channel at sci-fi-pulse-radio.com every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And of course, you can listen to any of our past episodes by searching the archives.
Until next time.